Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick, here with you as always, and I apologize because I have been away from the whiskey reviewing world for a little bit here. Sort of moved across the country, and that put a damper on getting the whole studio set up in the new place and all the sort of things that go along with moving. So anyway, glad to be back. Should have some regular weekly reviews now, get back on track, and hopefully get the whiskey review count up there. So we're at 84, and I know last time we left off I was doing a line of High West whiskeys. So I'm taking a break from that. I'm going to go back to one of my favorite types of whiskeys, which is the Single Pot Still category of Irish whiskey. So what I have for you, because I've done other expressions of Redbreast before, is the relatively new Redbreast Lustau edition. So I've also got, I'm not promoting Glencairn in any way. I don't get anything from them for doing it, but I really, as most people do, really like their products. So today I've got a Capita nosing glass, which I think is really nice for pulling out different flavors and aromas and that sort of thing, especially with the single pot still whiskeys. It's nice to sort of smell and experience all the nuances involved in that. So if you're unfamiliar of single pot still whiskey, right, we got a mixture of malted and unmalted barley, and it's distilled 3 times in copper pot stills. So in terms of age for Redbreast, traditionally we're dealing with a 12-year. That's the standard edition. With the Lustau, we don't have an age statement on there. Now, of course, they have the 15-year-old, the 21-year-old, and the 12 in the cask strength version. So I'm not sure exactly the reasoning behind this expression. Certainly with Redbreast, the aging, you're going to get 12 years in the traditional entry-level expression. You're going to get 12 years in ex-bourbon, ex-sherry already. So you're getting that sherried note that a lot of Irish whiskey fans like. So with the Redbreast Lustau, what you're getting is supposedly, I'm not sure exactly on the time, but let's say a year extra in finishing in sherry cask from the prestigious Bodegas Lustau in Jerez, Spain. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but probably not. So anyway, it's hard to say whether or not that Redbreast implemented this expression to really give enthusiasts more of that sherried note that we all love, or if it was in the trend of the non-age statement whiskeys that are going around, because there's not a 12-year label on this and a 9 to 1 year additional finishing. So not really sure of the actual reasoning behind it, but the marketed reason is for us sherry fans. So anyway, let's get into it. And so color-wise, we've got a nice straw yellow honey color to it. Let's go in for the nose. Right off the bat, because not always is the aroma indicative of what you're going to get in the taste, but it's not the case here, because right off the bat you're getting those really rich sherried fruit notes, really dark, rich, dried fruit, some cranberry in there, definitely some prunes and just earthy but rich fruity notes, and getting some fig in there. And certainly that sweetness that you get a lot with the single pot still, or Irish whiskey, in the sense of the triple distillation. I should mention, however, and let me make sure that I'm getting this right, the 46% ABV. Yep, 46% ABV, 90 proof, so it's nice we got a little higher proof there to work with. So let's go in for the taste. Probably should have bought 2 bottles. This is just that good. Right off the bat, you're getting an accumulation of all the different parts of your taste buds. You've got this spicy, earthy, peppery note on the tip of the tongue, and then in the middle of the tongue I'm getting those fruity notes that I got heavily in the nose, and then in the back you're just getting a really nice warming sensation, which works perfect for the weather that we're having out now. But just really deep, profound, long-lasting, rich, and it almost seems like you could chew it. It's like a very syrupy texture. So whether or not the reason for this expression is age statement or it's true to what is perpetuated, is just that extra sherried note to it, doesn't really matter, that argument, because when you taste it, it's worth every penny that you put in to get this. I bought this a while ago and it just sat on my shelf, and I was sort of afraid to go and taste it. You know, it's that whole feeling of you get something you really wanted and you kind of put it off because you don't want to ruin the newness of it, or in this case really enjoy it and then go through the bottle extremely fast. So I'm not sure exactly of the price. I want to say that it's around, at least in the US, anywhere from 60 to 70 bucks. So you're not talking too incredibly much, and it's not far off from some of the other ranges, which I don't know if you can see. Obviously the 21 is going to be much more expensive, but in terms of the 15 and standard edition, you're going to get probably a similar price range in there depending on where you are in the world. So anyway, let's take one last look. And one thing I will notice, using this the nosing glass, I mentioned a while ago, sometimes, and similar to how wine enthusiasts look at the legs on their glass, you can sort of get just a sense, really generic though, of age. If you have real slow kind of trickling down of the glass, it's usually indicative of an older alcohol, fueling whiskey in this case. But if you have really fast, if you tilt your glass and sort of agitate it a little bit, and those are just running back down into the bottom of the glass, it's probably going to be younger. Now, it's not always the case, it's not a rule to live by, but it's just sort of a general note. It's not something you can go and sell, but gives you an idea, because we're all about getting as much clarity as we can about our whiskey. So it's always just nice to have those little things here and there, some of the tricks that we can try to gather more information about it, and it just creates a discussion, because that's really what this is about. You may be looking at this because I don't think there's a lot of other Redbreast Lustau reviews. I couldn't find any other than Middleton's introduction of this, which I was surprised because this has been out for a while. But anyway, most of the time, if you were, or even me, going on YouTube looking up reviews, it's because you're interested in whiskey in general. That's sort of the base, reasoning behind it. Or it could be that your local shop has this whiskey and you're trying to see if you should get this or something else, so you're looking around at reviews. But it's really just to create a discussion, to sort of see if things that I say about it maybe coincide with what you pick up. It's not always going to be the case. I get some criticism sometimes because I talk too much about the actual notes that I'm getting in there, and certainly everybody is subjective. They're not going to taste or smell exactly the same things, but it gives people a baseline to go off of, sort of an expectation. People who are interested in those creamier, sort of thicker single pot still whiskey characteristics that you get with them may be helpful to them. Maybe those notes are helpful to them. Or if they're single malt fans of Islay Scotches, and they're trying to figure out what's going to be really peaty flavored, they're going to look for people who have notes of peat, big peat flavors. So I think there is something to it. An argument could be made. Yes, I know it's all subjective and not everybody smells or tastes the same things, but who really cares? It's not that much of a variation between all of us that we really care. And especially if you, oh, there goes that. Good thing there wasn't anything in it. But even on, I've noticed with Redbreast, and you probably too, if you've tried this before, or bought it rather, is they go really in depth into all of their tasting notes. So they've got, you know, dark fruits, prunes, dates, figs, with licorice, marzipan, toasted oak. Now I certainly could get some of those things, but if I have read this already, and I hadn't read this, I usually don't read these before I do the reviews, then I might be more tempted to say, oh yeah, I do taste marzipan, which truthfully I don't know what marzipan tastes like, so I'm not going to tell you it tastes like that. I'm only telling you things that I've experienced before, because that obviously makes sense. I'm not going to BS what I taste or smell in there. So, anyway, let's go in for one last pass and then we'll wrap this up. This is one of those whiskeys that if you have the time, take the time. You know, don't just swig it down like I feel I have to in order to, you know, get back and say something or comment on something or talk about it. But if you have the time, just to let it roll around in your mouth, like swish it around, get all those areas saturated, and then you'll have so much more of an in-depth experience, an enriching experience. But with this Lustau, it's so elevating to the original 12-year that you're getting an accentuation of all those sherried notes and the deep, dark, earthy notes, peppery notes, a little bit of the sweetness. I mean, you're getting a really, really complex whiskey in a single pot still that I'm so glad the category is really starting to expand, and they're starting to realize just how much folks like us enjoy it and really want to pick out the nuances in it. So that's it for this review. I'm gonna shy away a little bit from the ratings and scores because I don't think it's entirely helpful. You know, people tend to stick between 80 and 95, and if something's really good, you know, it's a 98. You know, it can never be 100, and so we get into this pit of rating things that, I don't know, it just doesn't really stack up. So I'd rather tell you about sort of experience and history behind things. So anyway, that's it for number 84. So good to be back with you. We'll see you next week with something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but till then, if you're going to drink responsibly as always, and see you next time.